Hi, welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Book summary of Calmer, Easier, Happier Parenting by Noelle Janice Norton. When we continue to do things for our children that they are capable of doing for themselves, we deprive them of opportunities to develop self-reliance and confidence as they grow older. Our primary responsibility as parents is to instill important values, skills, and habits in our children. Attempting to force children into doing things our way only makes them resent us and more resistant to our efforts at coercion. Observe and describe what your children do that pleases you, and use descriptive praise to reinforce their efforts. Think-throughs can assist your child in remembering and adhering to rules and routines. Encourage your children to use reflective listening to help them move through their uncomfortable feelings. When you use the never ask twice method, you can expect your children to cooperate 90% of the time the first time you give them an instruction. Using action replays, have a child reenact a scenario without acting inappropriately. It is through teaching that a child learns how to do something new. The goal of training is to get a child into the habit of doing something without the need for constant reminders. The ability to rely on oneself is the first step toward developing confidence. Superlative praise is ineffective because it is vague, exaggerated, and unspecific. Using descriptive praise ensures that your words are specific, true, and motivating. Furthermore, it has a positive impact on behavior and is simple to understand. Find something small that your child is doing right, or even the smallest step in the right direction, and point it out to him or her. Tell your child exactly what you've noticed and describe their behavior in great detail after that. When you descriptively praise the absence of an annoying behavior, you will notice a reduction in the occurrence of that behavior in the future. Including qualities in your praise assists your child in absorbing your morals and values. Concentrate on planning ahead of time to ensure that things go as planned rather than reacting after things go wrong. Don't be afraid to ask. The likelihood of your children remembering what they need to do increases dramatically when they tell you what they need to do. However, when you tell them, they are frequently only half listening. It's a special occasion. One parent with one child doing something you both enjoy that doesn't cost money, that isn't in front of a screen, and that is predictable every day, if possible, for at least 10 minutes a day for at least 10 minutes. Special time has been shown to reduce attention-seeking behavior. Reflective listening is a technique that can be used to diffuse your child's upset. Scabbing and telling stories quickly lose their appeal if we don't get involved in the conversation. Show that you care by imagining what they are going through, rather than attempting to solve the problem. The greater our willingness to repeat ourselves, the greater the number of times we will be required to repeat ourselves. Start behavior. Your child is not misbehaving, rather, he or she is transitioning from one activity to another. If your child is engaging in inappropriate or irritating behavior, you would like her to cease these activities immediately. Waiting has a lot of power. It demonstrates sincerity, demonstrating that you truly believe what you say. The majority of our prisons would be empty if consequences were sufficient on their own. When you follow through on your promises, your children will take your words more seriously as a result. You have the ability to perform action replays for any type of misbehavior, no matter how serious or insignificant. Action replays help to bring all of the discipline to a close on a positive note. Taking away a privilege because of misbehavior appears to be unfair to children and causes resentment in them. Allowing your child to earn a privilege for good behavior is a positive and motivating experience for both of you. You'll notice a difference in behavior much sooner than you expect. It's never too late to teach our children better eating habits at the dinner table. Our primary responsibility as parents, according to Calmer, Easier, Happier Parenting, is to transfer the values, skills, and habits that are important to us to our children. For more than a decade, Noelle has polled parents all over the world to find out what morals, skills, and habits they would like their children to develop. In every case, these 5 characteristics stand out regardless of geographic location, cultural or religious affiliation, or social and economic differences. Cooperation. Doing what we tell them to do the first time we tell them to do it and not making a big deal about it. Confidence. Knowing and appreciating their talents, abilities, and strengths, as well as putting them to use, understanding and accepting their weaknesses, as well as being willing to improve on them. Motivation. Willingness to begin and maintain commitment throughout all of the steps required in order to achieve a goal, even when those steps are not enjoyable in the moment. Self-reliance. Doing everything for themselves that they are capable of doing for themselves, rather than expecting, demanding, or waiting for someone else to do it for them, is a personal development strategy. Consideration. Being concerned about the feelings of others and being aware of how their own actions affect others are two important characteristics. Cooperation is the first of these 5 foundation habits, and it serves as a springboard into the other 4 habits. In the absence of cooperation, children will not be willing to do things for themselves, self-reliance, to be polite most of the time, consideration, to experiment with new things, confidence, or to persevere in a task despite its difficulties until they learn to cooperate, motivation. It is our responsibility to teach our children how to do a variety of tasks so that, over time and with sufficient practice, the skills become second nature. Attempting to force children into doing things our way only makes them resent us and more resistant to our efforts at coercion. Null has discovered that descriptive praise is the single most effective strategy for motivating children to want to cooperate and do their best in all of her years of working with families. To give your child descriptive praise, you must first notice what he or she has done that you find pleasing, and then describe it specifically. Instead of praising the child's ability or the outcome, it is more effective to praise the child's effort and willingness to take on challenges. This is because praise should be directed at the child's effort rather than the outcome. This is something that Carol Dweck discusses extensively in her book, Mindset. Descriptive praise is about noticing and commenting on exactly what your child has done that is right or just okay, or even on what he hasn't done wrong. It is also about noticing and commenting on exactly what your child has done that is right or just okay. Examples of descriptive praise for making small steps in the right direction include the following. So you've already put on your underwear and 1 pair of socks. You're almost finished with your outfit. When I told you that it was time to brush your teeth, you took a step towards the sink to comply. You threw one of your candy wrappers in the trash and forgot about it. Start noticing when your child is not engaging in the irritating habit and using descriptive language to praise him or her for not engaging in that negative behavior. When your child does something annoying, it is a good idea to wait a few seconds before responding. As soon as your child comes to a complete stop, or even takes a deep breath, begin using descriptive praise. Make your descriptive praise sentences into paragraphs in order to maximize their positive impact. Descriptional praise becomes even more effective when it is possible to summarize what you have observed by mentioning a characteristic. Starting a descriptive praise sentence with the words "I notice" is a good way to get your reader's attention. It is normal for children to perk up their ears when they hear us say "I notice," because that is not the language we use when correcting or reprimanding them. As a result, when we say "I notice," they quickly anticipate hearing something complimentary about themselves, which motivates them to pay attention. Concentrate the majority of your descriptive praise on the habits that your children have not yet mastered. Methods for motivating your child so that you see more of the desired behavior and less of the annoying behavior include the following. Determine and write down 2 irritating behaviors that you'd like your child to eliminate or improve. Take notice and descriptively praise every time your child performs the behavior correctly, just okay, or even a little bit better than before for each behavior. When your child is not engaging in the aggravating behavior, take note and mention it. Superlatives should be avoided. Attempt to descriptively praise some aspect of the improved behavior at least 10 times per day, or more if possible. Even if your child's words are reasonable, he should not be treated in a whiny, impatient, or disrespectful manner because his tone of voice is inappropriate. Preparing for a successful result. A think-through is an extremely effective technique for assisting our children in remembering and adhering to our rules and procedures. It increases the likelihood of your child cooperating by ensuring that the expectation or rule is permanently ingrained in his or her long-term memory. A think-through differs from a reminder in 2 important ways. First, it is more thorough. Before the misbehavior occurs, there is a period of reflection. A think-through is a conversation in which your child, rather than you, is the one who speaks. Here are the fundamental, well-thought-out steps to take in order to assist your child in remembering and taking seriously an existing rule or routine. It is preferable to be proactive rather than reactive, and to address the issue with a thought-through earlier in the day rather than waiting until your child breaks or ignores a rule. Select a time that is not stressful for you to think things through. Don't be afraid to ask. Your child responds in great detail, informing you of what he should do next. Tips for conducting effective think-throughs include the following. Spend no more than a minute on each of your considerations. Even if you want to reinforce the same rule with more than one child, conduct separate think-throughs with each child to avoid confusion. Keep in mind to descriptively praise your child as he or she answers the thought-through questions. An ongoing problem necessitates the development of an ongoing solution. For this reason, be prepared to do several thought-throughs per day for a week or so, especially if you have a child who is frequently uncooperative or who has an extremely rigid temperament. Examples of questions that require deliberation include: The first thing you should do when you get home from football practice is to eat something. What is the best place to store your equipment bag? What should you do with your freshly laundered clothing? After you get into your car, what is the first thing you should do? Who is responsible for buckling your car seat? Where do you want your arms to be so that Daddy and I can secure you in your seat? When are you going to be able to get out of your car seat? Make deliberate decisions about the appropriate way to behave in order to avoid problems. Prepare for the worst-case scenario at a neutral time, well before anything has the opportunity to go wrong. Another important aspect of preparing for success is having a clear set of rules and expectations. Before you can create a new rule to address a family problem, the first step is to determine exactly what you want the new rule to be and how you intend to implement it. If you have a partner, you must work together to form a united front. You and your partner must come to terms on the ground rules, which is referred to as becoming a united front. You have the ability to change the rules whenever you want. In order to establish a new rule, think-throughs are used. Set aside a neutral time and sit down with your child for 1 minute, just as you would if you were thinking about whether or not to reinstate an existing rule. Start by saying something like, "The new rule is," or something along those lines to get people thinking. Put an end to your conversation once you or your partner has stated the new rule. Reply with, "That's a good question," rather than explaining the reasoning behind the new rule. "Can you tell me why you think we're introducing this new rule?" If your child keeps saying that he doesn't understand the new rule, ask him to make an educated guess as to why it was implemented. One important way in which we can prepare for success is to devote some time, thought, and effort to improving the environment in which our children grow up. It is an effective way of preparing the environment to help children remember the rules and routines if you have a list or chart that they can refer to. It is possible to avoid falling into the trap of repeating yourself by using visual reminders. Parents are told in her seminars that there are 4 things they should never say to their children again, and Noel encourages them to do so. Come on. Hurry up. Let's go, and we'll be later. The 4 things that come to mind. Special time is most effective when it is scheduled on a regular basis, is predictable, and is clearly labeled as such so that your child knows what to expect. One-on-one special time with you encourages your child to cooperate. It also arouses in your child a desire to emulate the positive habits, qualities, and values exhibited by their father or mother. It doesn't matter how hectic or stressed your life is, you must set aside at least 10 minutes each day for special time with your child. The most fundamental aspect of a united front is that there is no arguing in front of children. Every time you introduce a new routine or habit into your child's life, there are a number of critical questions you should ask yourself about the preparing for success techniques to ensure success. Each question refers to a specific technique that must be learned. A question from the united front: do my partner and I have a mutual understanding of what the rule or expectation is? Rules and expectations that are clearly defined. Has the rule been communicated to my child? I inquire. Are we doing some think-throughs about this every day, asking several W questions about this rule and having the child respond in her own words? Says the teacher. The environment should be prepared in the following ways. How can I make it easier for my child to follow the rules? Visual cues. How can I avoid repeating myself day after day? Says the author. Am I allotting enough time in the bedtime routine for laying out clothes? Asks the planner realistically. Are we spending frequent, predictable one-on-one time with each child? Says the teacher. Is it possible for me to notice and mention every time my child remembers to follow a rule or takes even a small step in the right direction? Reflective listening is a technique that allows you to hear yourself think about what you're hearing. When children are exposed to reflective listening, or empathic listening as it is sometimes referred to, they are able to move more quickly and easily through their uncomfortable feelings, either towards acceptance or towards problem solving. The 4 steps of reflective listening include the following. Put your own feelings and desires aside for the time being. Stop what you're doing, look your child in the eyes, and listen carefully. Try to imagine what your child is thinking and feeling, and then express that to your child in words. Give your child his or her wishes in the form of a fantasy, optional. Many parents have found that visualizing themselves scooping up their anger, worry, or disappointment with both hands and placing it to the side of the room has helped them to remain calmer and more positive during stressful situations. Imagining something like this can help you relax. You'll find that your feeling will still be there, waiting for you, if you decide to seek it out later. Consider what emotion might be motivating your child to do what he's doing or to say what he's saying and then try to identify it. Suggestions for achieving success in Step 3. Refrain from the temptation to reassure, reason, justify, or lecture others about their situation. Instead, Consider what your child might be thinking or feeling at that precise moment. Don't repeat back to your child exactly what he or she has said. It is not necessary to repeat back to the child what she has said to you in order to practice reflective listening. Don't be afraid to take risks. We will never be able to know for certain what someone else is thinking or feeling. As a result, in order for reflective listening to be effective, we must exercise caution during the majority of our sessions. Giving our children their fantasy wishes demonstrates that we are concerned about more than just their behavior. We are also concerned about their emotions. There is a significant difference between children who are upset and children who are unhappy, according to research. Here are some examples of effective ways to phrase a reflective listening sentence in a formal setting. What you appear to be feeling is. You appear to be experiencing. You're probably feeling. You might be experiencing. It's possible that you'll feel. It appears to be. It appears that you are. It appears that you are. I can see/hear/tell from the expression on your face that. Perhaps you're experiencing. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I can imagine how you're feeling. It is possible to feel emotion when you. If we want to assist a child in moving beyond the natural human tendency to place blame on others, we must first ensure that we ourselves are disciplined in such a way that we rarely succumb to the temptation to blame, accuse, tell off, or threaten others. We must set an example for others to follow. Never, ever ask the same question twice. A simple and effective 6-step strategy for getting your children to cooperate 90% of the time the first time you give them an instruction and without raising a fuss is the never ask twice method. When you want your child to stop doing one thing and start doing something else, you can use the never ask twice method to accomplish your goal. The 6 steps are summarized as follows. Stop what you're doing, walk over to where your child is, and take a few moments to look him in the eyes. Wait until your child's attention is drawn away from what he or she is doing and toward you. Give the instruction to your child in a clear, simple, and only once manner. Instruct your child to repeat the instruction back to you in his or her own words, making sure it is accurate and thorough. Keep still and wait. You can use this time to descriptively praise every step in the right direction, no matter how small, and reflectively listen to how your child may be feeling while you are standing and waiting. When you have a feeling that your child is going to resist your instructions, start the countdown. Methods for putting a stop to bad behavior in its tracks. If your child asks you, "Why do I have to?" you should explain. It is almost never a genuine request for information, and it is almost always a diversionary tactic. If your instruction is clear and reasonable, your child will almost always understand why he should do something, or he will be able to figure it out on his own. Maintain a friendly tone. If you are stressed or annoyed, practice speaking in a low, calm voice to improve your confidence. Find something to descriptively praise and write about it. This is frequently sufficient to get kids back on track. Get as close as you can. As soon as you notice that your child is still misbehaving after you have descriptively praised him, stop what you are doing and go to where he is, standing close by. You might find that simply being in close proximity to your child while standing is enough to get them to behave again. Provide hints. An alternative to directly instructing a child who appears unlikely to comply is to provide them with a small clue to aid them in figuring out what to do. Alternatives should be provided. When we need to interrupt our children's enjoyment, it is often beneficial to provide them with an alternative activity. Make it a rule that applies to everyone. It can also be beneficial to depersonalize our instructions by referring to them as a family rule that applies to all members of the family. Empathize. The ability to demonstrate that we understand their frustration and irritation when we interrupt their enjoyment is another effective strategy for encouraging our children to cooperate with us. Provide only a few options. Whenever possible, provide your child with the opportunity to make a decision. Reduce the number of options to 2 to make your life easier. Make a positive statement about it. The positive reinforcement of what they should do, rather than the negative reinforcement of what they should not do, is far more motivating for children. Make a mock-up of the behavior you want to see. If you can model the appropriate behavior while telling them what to do, it will be even more effective. Come together as a team. It sends a clear message to children that both parents agree on the behavior expected of them and that both parents are concerned enough to enforce the behavior they expect. Always follow through with your plans and actions. By following through on our promises on a consistent basis, our children come to understand that we really mean it. Rewarding and punishing behavior. Simply imposing consequences will not instill a desire to behave well in children, nor will they help them remember to behave well. Following through is all about what we do after a child has done something inappropriate or harmful. The best rewards are those that are simple, quick, and do not require any expenditure of money. Using descriptive praise on a regular basis is one of the simplest, quickest, and most effective ways to reward our children for making small but significant strides in the right direction. Smiling and hugging are two more simple and quick rewards that help to reinforce the values and skills that we want our children to develop. Here are 10 examples of small rewards that are effective in motivating children to improve their overall behavior and academic performance. An additional story or song before bedtime. An extra 5 minutes of rough and tumble with a parent is always welcome. An outing with a parent that does not include the children. Playing a board game with a parent is a fun activity. An additional 15 minutes spent in front of the screen. Making a decision on what to serve for dinner. Experimenting with mom's jewelry or dad's ties. Baking with a parent is an example of an adult activity. Camping in the woods or having a picnic in the garden are both options. In the sitting room, I'm sleeping. If you have good behavior and work habits, you can use money to motivate and reward your employees. As a result of Noel's personal experience, she has learned that children and teenagers who are required to earn the majority of the extras in their lives become more motivated, grateful, and responsible. Noel believes that children should be required to earn all or a significant portion of their pocket money. Using pocket money as an incentive, Noel recommends giving the reward on a daily basis by marking on a chart each day the amount of money that they have earned, even if the money is only handed over once a week. Advice on how to use effective rewards and consequences. A reward is your child's once she has earned it, and you have no right to take it away. It is critical not to allow your child to select a reward that requires you to perform a task for him that is not his responsibility, such as setting the table or feeding the cat. Similarly, a reward should not be used to excuse a child from doing something that you believe is important but that she finds uncomfortable, such as music practice or sharing with others. Expect rewards to be insufficient in themselves to motivate a child who is extremely reluctant, impulsive, or angry. As a tool, rewards help your child develop the habits of cooperation and self-reliance by making it a little easier for him or her to achieve these goals. Receipts are not a substitute for motivating through descriptive praise and special time, or for minimizing and preventing problems through preparation for success and reflective listening. It is important that when your child does not succeed in earning the rewards, you express disappointment rather than anger or blaming him or her. You might think to yourself, "Oh, what a shame. I was hoping we could get that extra story tonight," says the speaker, who is sympathetic rather than adversarial. It demonstrates that you are on their side, and it is far more motivating than saying, "It's your own fault, you know, for wasting time by arguing when you should have been getting on with your homework. I'm on your side," you say. Additionally, in addition to providing rewards that your child knows are available ahead of time, it is motivating for you to occasionally surprise her with rewards that she did not anticipate receiving. This accomplishes two objectives. First and foremost, it allows her to see herself in a new light, as someone who is capable of delighting and impressing her parents. It also serves as a model for a generous and giving attitude, which she will absorb and imitate over time. It is critical not to use food as a form of reinforcement. Food is too emotionally charged a topic, too closely associated with feelings of love and acceptance. Avoiding any association between food and anything that has to do with approval or disapproval is far more beneficial. If you and your child replay the scenario, but this time he does the right thing right away, without any misbehavior or fuss, you have performed an action replay. Practice doing the right thing by having your child perform action replays after any misbehavior, no matter how minor the infraction. The practice of sitting apart, as Nala refers to it, has another beneficial effect. The act of sitting apart is similar to a timeout in some ways, but it is much more manageable. Something that is the same between sitting apart and taking a timeout is that your child must remain in one place. His freedom of movement has been restricted for the time being. The only difference between sitting apart and taking a timeout is that the sitting apart takes place in the same room where you are currently located. Being separated is an effective consequence because children do not want to be forced to remain in one place for long periods of time. The standard recommendation is 1 minute for every year of the child's age. If the misbehavior for which you want to do a sitting apart occurs in public, you can choose to wait and complete the sitting apart as soon as you get home from your outing. Alternatively, you could transport your child to the car and complete the sitting apart process there. In the event that your young child keeps getting up from whatever part of the room you have designated as the sitting apart place, keep putting her back down immediately and descriptively praise her a lot whenever she stays there, even for a few seconds longer. Once your child has completed the sitting apart by remaining silent until the timer goes off, he or she must explain to you in his or her own words and in a complete sentence why you gave him or her the sitting apart. Remember to descriptively praise something about his response when you write your response. Alternatively, If your child is still enraged after the timer goes off and is unwilling to speak rationally or complete the action replay properly, simply set the timer for another minute or two of sitting apart. Preparing for the day in the morning. If your child frequently makes a fuss about what to wear, establish a rule that clothes must be chosen and laid out the night before school or other activities. Children who are capable of dressing themselves must do so on a daily basis, even if you are in a hurry and even if they are complaining about having to do so. Before breakfast can be served, everyone must be completely dressed, their hair brushed, their beds made, their pets fed, their pajamas tucked away, and their school bags near the door. There will be no screen time before school. Children's breakfasts must be nutritionally balanced. Together, complete as much as you possibly can the night before your event. By waking the family 10 to 20 minutes earlier in the morning, you can give everyone more time in the morning. Mealtimes. Inviting everyone to assist before and after meals is a good idea. Even if no one in the family is hungry, everyone who is at home is expected to sit down together for the dinner meal. Each and every person comes to the table as soon as their name is called. Begin the meal with a brief ritual, such as expressing gratitude. No one can begin eating until the entire family has gathered around the table and until a parent has given permission for everyone to begin. Avoid using electronic devices such as screens, toys, books, mobile phones, or earphones at the table. Everyone should be served the same meal. Use your napkin to wipe your fingers and the corners of your mouth. When you've finished everything on your plate, you should only ask for seconds. Instead of reaching across someone's body, ask for something to be passed to you instead. Position yourself in a straight position with your legs down and your elbows off the table. Children are expected to remain at the table until they are excused by an adult. Avoid imposing a rule on children that they must finish everything on their plate. Between breakfast and lunch, provide children with a nutritious snack, followed by another between lunch and dinner. Avoid storing foods that are bad for children if you want to encourage them to eat more healthfully. In order to teach children not to wipe their mouths on their sleeves, make sure there is always a napkin at each table setting. Small portions should be served to children. Provide children with cutlery that is the appropriate size for them so that they can easily use it. Provide children with chairs that are the appropriate size and height for their needs and abilities. Consider scheduling your day realistically so that your family will have ample time to enjoy each meal without feeling rushed. If a child is hungry, she will consume her entire meal in 15 minutes. Mealtime should not be prolonged. Beginning with the first plate, you will place tiny amounts of 5 to 8 different foods that your child has been known to eat on occasion but does not enjoy on each subsequent plate for the rest of the family. There must be so little of each food, for example, a quarter of a pea, that there is no discernible taste. Your child's second plate will be served only after he or she has finished everything on the first plate. The second plate will consist only of a small portion of whatever you have prepared for dinner that your child or children enjoys. Relationships between siblings. If one of your children comes to you complaining about the other, make a rule for yourself that you will not get involved in it. Allow your children, particularly your boys, plenty of opportunities to engage in play fighting. Give your older child a few extra privileges to show his or her maturity. Even when a sibling is present, encourage each child to spend some time each day playing alone, rather than in front of the television. If you are concerned about the safety of a child, get close to him or her. If you are not concerned about the children's safety, you should stay out of their fight, even if one of them is crying or complaining to you. Instead of interfering, find something to descriptively praise and express your gratitude. Make a squabbling area for your group. It's time to watch something on the screen. Screens are not recommended for children under the age of 3. Approximately half an hour per day in front of a screen for children aged 3 to 8. From the age of 8 until adulthood, 1 hour of leisure screen time per day is recommended, except on special occasions, e.g. going to the cinema or watching a football match on television. Allow for leisure screen use only on specific days of the week. Children should be required to earn screen time. Before turning on a screen, instruct children to inquire first. During playdates at your house, keep screen time to a minimum. On school days, prohibit the use of screens in the mornings. When traveling in a short car journey, avoid using a screen. During mealtimes, screen time should be prohibited. Turn off screens without a fuss today in order to earn screen time for tomorrow. Make it a requirement that children get plenty of exercise. Understand exactly what will happen when the time limit for screens is about to expire so that there are no surprises. Homework. Every day, set aside a designated time for homework, except Sundays. Set the homework time for the beginning of the day on non-school days to ensure that it is completed. Allow your child to spend only the amount of time on homework that has been recommended by the teacher. Do your homework first thing in the morning. Work comes first, then play. Include realistic breaks in your design. To keep your child from becoming overwhelmed, establish a rule that he or she must take an active break, not in front of a screen, every 15 to 30 minutes, depending on his or her current ability to focus on academic work. Make a plan ahead of time for when your child will be able to take a break. First and foremost, the worst. Children should be taught and trained to do their best. Provide your child with high-quality fuel so that he or she can produce high-quality work. Distracting factors must be eliminated. Maintain close supervision over the use of computers for homework and school projects. Divide each homework task into 3 distinct stages to ensure that children get the most benefit possible from their homework assignments. Assist your child in considering how to complete the task successfully so that he can gain whatever knowledge he or she needs from the activity. Even for simple pieces of work, ask your child to describe exactly what he or she needs to do, as well as how, where, and why he or she needs to do it. As he completes the task, direct him to ask leading questions to help him consider any aspects of it that he is unaware of or that he has a tendency to overlook. Allow your child to complete his or her homework without your assistance. Help your child to improve his or her attention to detail, thoroughness, editing, and proofreading skills by providing him or her with suggestions. Organizing and taking care of one's personal effects. Before dinner, set aside 5 minutes to clean up the kitchen. Before beginning the next activity, put away any toys or games, art projects, or other items that have been brought out. Make it a rule that any toys or clothes that are left lying around the house will be taken away by the parent and must be earned their way back. Sort through your child's belongings with him or her, getting rid of any unnecessary duplicates as well as any outgrown or broken equipment, books, games, and other toys or games consoles. Remove from your child's room any toys or equipment that can't be easily put away and replace them with new ones. All of your child's belongings should be kept in one location that is easily accessible to you. Take a photograph of each area of a child's room after it has been thoroughly cleaned and organized to your satisfaction if the child appears to be disorganized and easily distracted by his or her temperament. Keep the enticing or potentially messy games at the top of the list. Chores around the house. Every day, set aside a specific amount of time, for most families, right after dinner works best, during which everyone in the family works together on a household task for 10 or 15 minutes. Provide your child with 2 options so she doesn't feel like she's being forced to make a decision. For tasks that are particularly unpopular, start with only 5 or 10 minutes of your time. Allow the children to take turns performing specific tasks. Whatever household task you are involved in throughout the day, consider which parts of the task you could begin teaching your child to do at the end of the day. Take advantage of the opportunities that arise when your child requests that you play with her. Create a routine in which she first assists you with a portion of what you're doing, and then you both play together. Playing on one's own terms. Designate a space where your child will be able to play independently. Assist your children in compiling a list of activities that they might enjoy doing on their own. Set a good example by taking pleasure in your own activities. Bedtimes and sleep are important. Make a decision with your partner about what time your children should go to bed and make that the rule. Children and teenagers over the age of 10 should be allowed to read or draw in bed if they are not yet tired, but only if they are in bed by the time you have set. Have more freedom on nights when school is not in session. Allow older children and teenagers to stay up for a maximum of 1 hour later than their usual bedtime, and younger children for a maximum of half an hour later than their normal bedtime. Bedtimes should be staggered so that younger children are going to bed earlier and thus getting the rest they require. After dinner, keep snacks and milk to a bare minimum, including milk. If your child has a special blanket or cuddly toy that he or she has grown attached to, make sure that it is always kept on the bed and that he or she is not allowed to carry it around. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.